Nick, why is this necessary? I mean, you heard there from Shane, it's way out of proportion.
I think it's a little bit like saying that we haven't got many cannibals in the country. So are we suggesting that we don't outlaw cannibalism because there aren't many people? To be honest, I don't really think it's.
Well, I think that's covered by murder.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Shane, I'm sure you're a very professional cyclist, but you've just told us on air that you race on the roads, and any form of racing, in my view, is dangerous. It needs to be done in a designated place. But what this is about is, listen, fortunately, there are very few cyclists who are involved in fatal accidents, which is fantastic. We want to encourage cycling. There needs to be more investment in infrastructure. I'm very pro cycling, but I am also pro holding people, to account. And there are tens of thousands of cycling offences every day that are unreported because we've got no means of dealing with people who go through red lights, people who cycle on pavements. What this legislation is specifically designed for is to hold those cyclists who actually cause serious injury or worse to account. Now, pedestrians are number one in the order of priority of vulnerability, followed closely by cyclists. At the moment, the statistics show there are about 450 people who are seriously injured on our roads, on our pavements, every year. That figure obviously is not accurate. The figures are much, much higher than that. And as we have more cyclists on the roads and they're not being held to account, those figures are going to increase. So this will address that problem. And, this also deals with the fact that if you're simply cycling inconsiderately, so, for example, in London, Regent's Park, it's an area where I'm quite regularly walking round, you see pelotons going very quickly, in excess of the speed limit that exists for cars, which I think is ridiculous. They now will be deemed as cycling without reasonable consideration, or even worse, dangerously, because they're racing. And if they then come into contact with somebody, they have a huge problem and they're facing potential custody. So what that will mean is actually we need to just reconsider how we cycle, where we cycle, and make sure that we don't come into contact. So, of course, cars are a problem, but there is a system of holding drivers to account. At the moment, there is no legislation to deal with recalcitrant cyclists, and there isn't a system to bring them properly before the court.
You mentioned London.
Limit. Sorry?
You mentioned London, Nick.
Yeah.
And and this is the case elsewhere in the UK as well. But these
Yep.
grab and go and dump bikes, right?
Yep.
The times I've almost, perhaps even been killed, at the very least seriously injured, it's been people on those bikes. And these, I don't get the sense that these are cyclists. They're idiots on bikes who've just grabbed them.
Who are cycling.
Who are cycling, yeah.
Yep.